Lord, it turns out it's going to be a lot worse than we figured. They're going to be stealing from each other, lying, being cruel, even hating each other and killing each other. This whole fall from grace is worse than we expected,
What
Lord.
about haircuts?
Lord?
Well, the hair on the side of their heads and their beards, do they end up cutting that?
Well, I'll check. Yes.
Why did I make the fruit of that tree so deliciously tempting? No, that's not on. I want that banned.
Yes, Lord,
right?
a ban on cutting the hair on the side of their head. Moving on, Lord, it seems that this sinful nature messes them up so bad that they actually abuse children in some cases.
Do they wear clothes made of wool and linen woven together?
Yes.
Right, that too. Absolute ban on that.
If we may, can we direct you towards the things we think you need to be equally clear on?
Yeah, I heard you killing each other, stealing, sitting on chairs that menstruating women have been sitting on.
Well, those first two, yes. Are you going to prohibit them?
Yes.
Good.
And
Well,
tattoos as well. No tattoos. I am the Lord.
Lord, you hate oppression and cruelty and stealing just as much as tattoos, right?
Yes.
Well, thank goodness for that, because we've got something that you really need to look at then.
What are they doing?
Well, slavery, Lord.
Slavery, eh?
Yes, and on a massive scale, Lord. It begins right away, and looking at the projections, it seems that some of the larger and more powerful civilizations that arise think that it's okay to forcibly take literally millions of people from the continent of Africa, mainly, and make them work for them and practically build their nations for them. Humans actually steal their fellow humans and deprive them of all liberty and dignity for their entire life. They're captured, shackled, often branded, and crammed into boats and shipped overseas where they're sold and literally worked to death. Children are born into slavery and live out their entire lives as slaves, not knowing a single day of freedom.
Africans, you said.
Well, yeah, Africa is going to take the brunt of this, Lord, in the long term. You need to set a clear example of your compassion here, Lord. It's very simple. I mean, you love righteousness and justice, right, Lord? This is just about the worst violation of those imaginable.
Right, well, let's do it then. It sounds like something that I really need to be very clear about. Let's get this absolutely right, once and for all.
Oh, great. I certainly am glad to hear you say that, Lord. So it's really up to you as far as the wording goes. Do you want a do not commandment or a you must not commandment?
Huh?
Oh, well, so far you've got do not invoke the names of other gods, do not allow a sorceress to live. Both of those are very unambiguous, so we could have do not own another person as property. Or do you want you must not own another person as property, like you have you must not eat any fat or any blood?
Yeah,
I'd go with you must not. It's kind of stronger, don't you think? Yeah, I think so. There's not much chance of misinterpretation there. Yeah, but do not is more of a kind of imperative. That...
Well, look, the owning people aspect of it, I don't mind so much. Were there any other aspects of it that you were concerned about?
Well, Lord, the idea of owning people as property is probably a good place to start when abolishing slavery, don't you think?
Whoa, hold on. Who's abolishing anything?
Well, Lord, you abolished cross-dressing a minute ago. Don't you think that slavery is equally detestable?
It's tricky, isn't it?
Not really, Lord, no. In fact, these sinful, fallen humans will outlaw it themselves eventually. Yeah, Lord, just command it and it's done. You must not buy and sell people.
No. Look, that aspect in and of itself isn't so much of a concern either.
Lord, what?
No, look, well, if it's a runaway slave seeking refuge, then that's obviously different. But if it's a fair and square commercial deal, then...
Lord, are you saying that they may buy slaves?
Well, it depends on...
It depends? On what?
Well, you mentioned some situation in the future to do with slaves from Africa.
Yes, Lord.
And that they're taken from Africa to other countries.
Yes, exactly.
Well, see, the slaves are from a different country, so... Oh, I see. You guys were thinking that the slaves were going to be my people, the Israelites.
What?
No. Oh, no wonder you're so confused. Oh, sorry. Okay, look, we're obviously talking about two different things, okay? My people aren't allowed to do this to each other, okay? Put this down, okay? You must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. Your slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them, you may buy slaves.
Whoa, Lord, what are you saying?
An Israelite owning another Israelite as a slave wouldn't be okay. They're only allowed to keep each other in indentured servitude.
Okay,
right?
hold
However
on,
bad this African slavery thing gets in the future, look, it's a totally different thing.
You're okay
see?
with people being made slaves? What, for life?
Well, no. After 6 years, they have to be set free and provided for with food and wine and even livestock when they go. See, it's like a retirement benefit.
Hold on.
And you're comparing it to some kind of slavery.
Oh, what? They can go back to Africa.
Huh? No, I'm not talking about foreign slaves.
Lord, but
You're a bit
that's
hung
what
up on
we-
this
that's
Africa
what we
thing.
wanna-
Look, I'm talking about the Israelites. They have to
Yeah,
free
but
each other from
Lord-
indentured servitude at the end of 6
yes,
years.
Lord. I get that you're talking about Israelite indentured servants, but what about the foreign slaves, though?
Foreign, see, they're from different nations. So,
They stay slaves for life?
no. Indentured servants go free after 6 years.
No,
You're not
Lord,
seeing
we
this
wanna
clearly.
talk about
No,
it.
listen.
But that's
Israelite
considered-
indentured servants have to be treated kindly and released at the end of 6
No,
years.
Lord, foreigners.
What?
Well, do they get freed? The foreigners that they buy as slaves?
No. You can make them slaves for life.
Whoa,
But the Israelites are to be
whoa,
freed,
whoa.
see? It's a totally
Lord,
different
we're-
arrangement, okay? You can't even compare it with
You're
slavery.
mandating lifetime slavery.
Why do you keep implying that the Israelites can keep each other as slaves
No,
when I'm
of
telling you
slaves,
that they
but Lord,
can't?
no, we're
It's just
talking
not
about the
slavery.
foreign-
It's a totally different thing. This is something that they're just as likely to opt into voluntarily. Look, it's more like a
What?
safety net. If they can't pay their debts, they might opt in to be someone's servant for a period of years until they all
but
go
we're-
free again and all
we're
the
not
debts are
talking
written
about
off.
that, hold though, on. Lord. Can I just bring you back to these foreign slaves, Lord, being sold into bondage for life?
It's a totally different thing.
You seem to be commanding oppressive lifetime slavery.
Israelite indentured servitude has nothing to do with that, though.
We're
This is
not
totally
talking
different
about
to
that, Lord. We're
Don't
not-
you know that if an Israelite kills his indentured servant,
No.
he gets the death penalty himself? This is a humane system. The servants aren't property.
Yeah, but
They'll
the
be
foreigners
fed and
apparently
housed
are.
by their master, and they'll have job security. In fact, these people are job creators, and you're trying to get in their way. Look, the servants can eventually buy their
so, Lord,
freedom.
I get what you're saying about that, Lord, but we're concerned about what you said about the foreign slaves. I'll put it up on the screen here, okay? Look, you may buy slaves. They are to come from the nations around you. You can make them slaves for life, but you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly.
Right, see, exactly. The Israelites must treat each other with kindness and respect.
No,
see,
but you're
I'm a
not
God of
talking
love.
about that. But Lord, what we see here pretty much describes the worst and most oppressive and inhumane forms of slavery the world will ever see.
Oh, but you're
It'll
not.
be the shame of many nations to have once participated in exactly what you're
Again,
outlining.
why are you trying to make me look bad when I'm saying they have to free each other and
We're
treat each
talking
other
about the people that
humanely?
they don't
It's
have
not
to free,
about
Lord.
them,
no,
We're
no,
not
look,
talking
right?
about
The Israelites
them.
are not slaves; they're
Hey, Lord,
indentured
look,
servants.
If I may, I'd like to voice a concern, and please just hear me out. If you go with that wording we've got here, people might think that buying slaves from other nations and making them slaves for life was in line with your inherent moral nature.
Oh, well, look, that would obviously be a case of taking my words completely out of context, all right?
No, it would be a
Look,
matter of obeying
no,
them,
look,
Lord.
I can take care of that. I'll blow that argument completely out of the water. Ready? Write this down. Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner. There. How can anyone now say that I'm ordering anything even remotely cruel?
So you're abandoning what we've got up here so far, then?
Oh, keep that. It's fine.
Well, it just simply contradicts what you've got here.
Well, I'd say that it complements what we've got here.
Lord, it might be helpful if I describe the characteristics of the slavery that we're trying to avoid. This is what the humans do, and then themselves abolish as being incredibly cruel. Their slaves come from the nations around them. From them, people buy slaves. The slaves become their property, and they make them slaves for life.
That's a totally
So
different...
they bequeath the slaves to their children as inherited
But
property.
again, that has nothing to do with how the Israelites are meant to treat each other.
This is
Look,
not
they have to
about
let
the
each other go at the
Israelites.
end of 6 years, and they have to treat each other humanely. Why won't you just...
Okay, Lord,
Oh,
just one more thing then. Can I read a law that the humans come up with themselves? Yeah, it might be something that you'd like to command yourself now, at the outset of human history.
yeah, go on.
I'll just adapt it to this context. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist on earth.
Look, it just sounds like some kind of man-made morality, which is obviously inferior to a divine commandment.
I don't think
But,
so, Lord.
but anyway, look, my commandments for the Israelites are pretty much the same as that anyway. They probably got that law from me. They're not to keep each other in
What?
slavery. They're only allowed to keep, their slaves in slavery.
Foreigners.
And temporary residents living among them. And members of their clans. And the people whose cities they want to invade. Right, and actually, I like that bit about bequeathing the slaves to their children as inherited property. Put that in too, up there somewhere. But look, I just need to make it absolutely clear that Israelites aren't to do this to each other, because that'd be cruel, and I would never allow it, and it's totally different. Look, I think that's good now. Let's leave that as it is there. Was there anything else you wanted to get my opinion on?
Well, the only other thing was genocide.
Hmm.
You're going to be very clearly against wiping entire peoples from the face of the earth, right, Lord?
Yeah, see, it's tricky, isn't it?